You got a red light?
Okay.
All right, let's get some viewership. Guys, if you can, click on that video for me right now. Make sure the sound's working before I do all this for nothing. Okay?
It's working.
Just refresh. You'll find it. All right, click on that. Make sure you can hear me. Turn your volume on. And I'm talking. I'm pretending to talk. Can you hear me? Well, the thing is, it's split. It's split right now. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 330 to go. I'm your host, Hank Forrester, coming to you live from the Firestone and Litchfield CLC parking lot. Tonight we get to feature one of the best darn bands in all of the high school land. But before we do that, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. Tonight's episode is once again brought to us by Acme Fresh Markets. Just a reminder to use our promotional code when shopping online for your Acme groceries. Enter 330 to go as a promo code at orderacme.com, and you'll get $3.30 off any order greater than $50. Groceries are literally at the tip of your fingertips. In addition, folks, if you haven't done so yet, please make sure that you enable our Alexa Morning Minute. Every morning, I wake you up with 1 minute of weather, fun news, and things to do, and special savings in and around the 330. Go to 330togo.com/Alexa for your tutorial. Danny, go ahead and hit the red button on that so that we're recording now on that, okay? Folks, tonight's episode is also brought to us by Sheena's Platinum Movements. Sheena Mason, just a kid from Akron. She also went to Firestone High School, runs a local dance studio here in West Akron, just around the corner from Acme Number 1. Students range from 3 to adult, and they cover disciplines of tap, modern, ballet, hip-hop, jazz, and African style as well. They also offer private lessons as well, so please find them on Facebook or online at sheenasplatinummovements.com, as open registration is now available. Folks, please go ahead and share this video right now. Hit that like. Whoa, we almost took a header there. Wow. Go ahead and share this video right now. I hope you guys caught that live. Go ahead and share this video and hit that like button. Get this thing going. We're going to be talking to some people here. We're taking a look at the Firestone High School Marching Band tonight. We still good, Danny? Everything live? All right, we're good. Folks, as soon as we're done with this show, make sure that you provide us some feedback as well. We need that for your reviews as we continue to grow our sponsorship base. If you're interested in sponsoring us, please contact me after the show. We'd be happy to have you. All right? Let me flip pages here. I don't have my page turner. What? That caught? All right. All right, this is where I smashed the camera, right? Okay. Folks, tonight we are here once again to focus specifically on the Firestone High School Marching Band. We get an in-depth look tonight on what it takes in order to organize and execute some of the best performances that you're going to see around Friday Night Lights here in Ohio. All right? So without further ado, I want to bring on tonight's special guest, one of our directors. Let's have a big round of applause for Mrs. Kate Ferguson. Here she comes right here. Yay! Round of applause. Yay!
Good, how are you?
I'm just living the dream, as I always say. All right, so I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. We talked about it before, okay? Please make sure you monitor the audio so that I know that we're hearing her too, okay? All right, so first of all, how big is the band and how do you put it into sections and all that?
Oh, the band this year is about 95 students. It fluctuates oftentimes between 80 and 110, just depending on the year and who comes up and how many seniors we had graduate. They're separated by instrument, so we have different numbers of kids in each section. There's about 25 kids in the brass section. There's about 25 kids in the woodwinds, about 25 in the percussion section, and then a few fewer in the color guard this year, but they're doing a great job.
Well, I saw that when we showed up. It was interesting how they when they warm up, they're kind of in their groups.
Yeah, we break them up into groups so that they can focus on the skills that are needed for that instrument and the skill set needed for that instrument when we first warm up. And then we put them all together after they're warmed up and ready to go.
Okay, that sounds good. So let's talk about you real quick. I know you're not happy being on camera, but how long have you been the director? And in addition to this band, what else do you work with as well?
Well, this is actually my 21st year teaching, and I've been at a few different schools, but this is my 5th year here at Firestone High School, and I also teach at Litchfield in the mornings. I come over and help with the beginning bands and intermediate bands here at Litchfield, so we can get a good start with them.
Very cool, very cool. Which day?
My daughter just started the flute.
Okay, cool. All right, so In your professional, let me bring this forward. In your professional recommendation, then, when do you recommend that kids start an instrument?
Oh, I think it's best to start whenever their school district starts. Usually 5th or 6th grade is pretty normal for people to start depending on what school district you're in. But the most important thing is whenever they get started that they're consistent about what they do. A lot of times, if they can get their instrument, be consistent about their practice time, be involved in the school program, they'll be successful no matter what grade they start in.
Okay, I played saxophone and drums from the time I was a wee tyke up until through high school, okay? Back then, there was a place over on Cog Falls Avenue. It was called Lentines, and that's where I got my instrument. If kids want to get instruments, where do they go around town, or are the schools providing them now? How does that work?
We do several different things. There's a lot of places that we recommend they rent their own instruments from. The place that services Akron Public Schools is Taylor Band and Orchestra over near Ellett. We also recommend that people come over here to Firefly in Highland Square. Several of our students go to Central Instrument Company in Cuyahoga Falls. Any of those options are fine. We also have a good number of school-owned instruments that we try to rent to students who maybe need that as opposed to renting their own. So we have a lot of instruments here at school that we can provide.
Okay. Now, once they join the band, at that point, are they required to take classes as well in addition to being the after-school part of the band?
Oh, a band in the high school here is a class, and it meets during the school day, and then we do some hours after school for just the marching band portion. Once football season is over and marching band's over, then it's really mostly during the school day. So it's a regular curricular class that they take all year long.
Okay. What would be a typical time commitment that one of these students would go through during the course of a week in terms of after school?
For marching band specifically, they have about 6 hours outside the school day in rehearsal time, and then we play at our Friday night football games. Some Saturdays we have a competition, some Saturdays we don't, so it just depends on the week. This week we happen to have a competition, so they'll have a few more hours, obviously, on Saturday for that competition.
All right, so that kind of brings us to our next question. Well, I'll come back to that. No, let's do that one now. As far as where they have been and where they go, you mentioned competitions. Where are some of the things that the band participates in?
Oh, we participate all over. This particular band, we compete both on a local level and a state level, and also a pretty national level. We were at a regional competition for Bands of America last weekend. It happened to be held in Canton, so it was locally for us, but it was a regional competition. We've done those same competitions in Toledo and Dayton, and even traveled to Indianapolis to do Bands of America shows. We participate in a lot of the Ohio Music Education Association events that are held all over. This weekend, we're going to one in New Philadelphia, down south of Canton. And we do a lot of different things. 2 years ago, we went to Disney World and performed at a parade in the Magic Kingdom. This year, we're actually going to Chicago in November and doing a parade. It's the Magnificent Mile Light Parade. That's the parade that's the week before Thanksgiving and is set to light Chicago for Christmas. So they bring in everything for Christmas. Yep.
Cool. So now, as far as the kids themselves, and I mean, it is a competition, right? I mean, you have folks are better at it than other folks, right? So, and I know how to. If I'm remembering, what was the movie about band that had Drumline, right? Drumline, okay. They say one band, one voice, right? Okay, and I get that, but at the same time, when you have people that want to do solos and that sort of thing, is there a tryout process? How do they go about doing that? As far as like when you pick folks to do things?
Oh, we oftentimes have an audition process, especially if there's a solo and marching band. We'll often audition to see who is the person who would achieve that best most often. It just kind of depends on the situation. We have several auditioned ensembles. The jazz ensemble is an auditioned ensemble. They audition for chair placement in the concert bands and wind ensembles. So a lot of it is an audition based, not to be a part of the group, but to kind of seat them in a way that they're going to be successful in participation in their music.
There's a car coming. They went right by the barricade, so hi, we're not live or anything. Anyway, I'll ask this question here, and I know you got to get going because it's practice night, okay? I'm going to skip ahead here, and then we'll get Rob out of here if we can. So if folks want to help out, if they want to volunteer, how do they go about doing that? What's the process?
Oh my gosh. Well, first we have an amazing booster organization that's comprised of all of the parents, and they jump in and help do whatever they want, whatever is needed. Sometimes we're cooking food for the kids. Sometimes we're sewing uniforms, making props, chaperoning. I mean, our booster organization is tremendous, but we can always use more volunteers. There's definitely opportunities for you to get in touch with us if you follow the band, specifically on Facebook. We have a band following on Facebook, Firestone Bands, and there's a lot of opportunities that you can reach out to us if there's things that you want to do or help us out. we will definitely take it.
Well, listen, Kate, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on with us. I know you got a big rehearsal tonight. You guys are performing tomorrow. So if you want to find Rob and throw him this direction.
I will.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yep. All right, folks, so once again, we're continuing our coverage right now with the Firestone High School Marching Band. As you can see, they are getting ready for tomorrow. They've got a big competition coming up. And as she mentioned, they do travel quite a bit. So they get an opportunity to go to different places. I had read in the Beacon, actually, it was about them going to the Magnificent Mile, going to compete in Chicago. So that's coming up, as she mentioned, in November, right before Thanksgiving. So Rob's coming on over real quick. Rob,
Yes.
I'm Scott. Nice to meet you.
to meet you.
I go by Hank on the show, okay? All right, so right now I got some questions for you real quick because I know you guys are busy, all right? Basically, when it comes to the choreography and the routines,
Yes.
they said you're that guy, okay?
I'm one of the guys.
All right, so my question is, how do you go about doing that? How do you come up with a routine? Where do you even begin? Where do you start?
We start with a concept. So in this situation, it was like everything having to do with X. So it's a bunch of words, exotic, exclamation, exhausted, right? And we said, what's everything we do to tell the story of X? So they end up in forms that look like X's, the props that, we have on the side, change. So we also assigned a color to every different, like explosion I think is red if I remember correctly, and exotic is blue, and so the color guard costume has components of all those in it, and we keep shifting. Again, we think explosion, we think something like red, like that. So we start with that. The drill writer is a friend of mine, Thomas Sparling, that does all the actual dots and forms. So that is a matter of we think of things that involve X, and then we have to create presentations of voices. So making sure some of it's the people who are playing the melody are in the right place to get heard and some of that kind of stuff. So it's a combination of those two things.
So in other words, let's say the flutes are about to be featured. They've got to kind of migrate toward the front type deal.
Yeah, we have to get them in the spotlight basically. So two things have to happen. We have to put them in a place where you can see them and hear them, and then we have to draw your eye somehow to tell you, hey, look over here.
Okay.
So that's a lot of the game, is how do we draw your eye to the most important thing? Like that, we always say, like, we have to make sure that the most important thing is the most important thing to you, and we get you to look and listen where we want you to look and listen all the time.
Okay. So now, this is the practice facility. We're here at Litchfield's parking lot. Do you guys? I remember seeing Ohio State's down at the shoe, right? And do you guys have it marked off like a football field? I mean, how do they know where to set up and where to march? It looks like you've got 10-yard lines set aside. So how do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, everything is. I mean, we have a football field painted out here on the parking lot in blue, and so it's got the hashes and that you would have on a football field and the yard line markers. And then we also have, for training purposes, we have some pieces of tape out here that, like, a step is a certain size that they're used to taking. So we mark it off towards, it basically comes into a grid for us to practice and reset to certain things so they know where they're at to reset. But they're constantly using step size as it relates to the yard line or between the yard lines or the sidelines or the hash. So everything kind of fits on a grid that way.
All right, so once you introduce a routine to the kids, how long does it take them to get it? Or do they ever? You know what it is. You know what I mean?
It depends. We spend a lot of time training the basics. So we train step size, we train musically. Later in the season, they learn faster because their skills are better. To learn the very first one, quite a while. Okay. To learn the first, let's say, 8 or 9 pages worth of stuff, a while. To learn the very ending, usually faster. But they start learning the actual show end of July, end of the July-ish, and we're a couple weeks away from the end of the season. And it's always a work in progress. It's never finished. It's like anything, it's never finished.
Right. And it looks like, okay, so you got the big stand here, and then you got the 2 side stands. Those are students, I'm assuming. Are they seniors?
Yes. They're upperclassmen. The idea they're student conductors. We would call drum majors. Okay. And so they're student conductors, and that's part of what they do. The larger stand is just for us to rehearse, but to get up top and look at things, since we're not in a stadium.
And it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And you guys, when are you competing tomorrow? Or
They're competing Saturday in New Philadelphia High School. Yep.
Okay. Oh, what, me? Sorry. Thanks, Danny. All right, so yeah, it's really interesting. And Evan had mentioned to me this little group right here that's right up front. They're called, what are they called, the front line?
We
Or
call them the front ensemble, yes.
the front ensemble.
Yeah.
You got to give them some love, right? Because they're right up front and they don't get a chance to move around. So do they do anything in terms of, do you do anything with them in terms of choreography?
Generally not. I mean, that's there's some students missing for a concert tonight, but I mean, there's electronics as well, so synthesizer, that kind of stuff, and then this is all the concert percussion, like you would see in a concert band. It's those things up front because the projection is not quite as much for them, so they're on the front side. It's more or less as a frame and just contributing musically. Yeah.
Typically, when they're practicing, I know they go from they get here at 6. They start warming up for about an hour or so, and now they're in early routine. Then they really start kicking it in. Looks like they're going into motion right now. So how long do they usually practice? Like 3 hours typically?
We do a 3-hour rehearsal, 6 to 9, twice a week. And one of those days are section-based things. So it's like just the brass or just the drum liner, just the color guard by themselves. So we're working on the components independently. And then on Tuesday nights, or Monday nights and Tuesday nights, and then Thursday, they're all together as an ensemble.
Is there ever a moment where it's 9 o'clock and Kate just says, "We got to do it one more time. We got to do it one more time"?
No, I mean truly.
Just 9 o'clock, it's cut.
Yeah, we're right up against it sometimes, but no, but we got to be done. We got to be done. So because they're going to be at school in the morning. So
of course. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to bring Evan on here to talk about fundraising stuff, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Hey, yo! We're still live? All right, folks. This is Evan Barnes. He's one of the parent volunteers that assist. You're not an employee, correct?
No, I'm not an employee.
Okay, parent volunteers that assist. He's part of the program, and he's mainly one of the reasons that we're here. He asked us to take a look at the band. So right now, I'd like to toss it over to Evan, and I want to talk to him about specifically how's the band funded. Okay, so as things have gone on over the last 20, 30 years, arts budgets are usually the first that get cut, right? Sports are soon to follow, and extracurriculars in general is the way I'll say that. Okay, so how do you guys go about funding the band? And are there any fundraisers that are coming up? Two-part question.
Yes. We have a fundraiser coming up on November 30th over at Tangiers. It's an evening of jazz, and it's a holiday show. Tickets are $35. It's dinner and jazz music. But we normally fund the band. It's all parent funded. It's fundraisers. We have to do everything ourselves. And over the years, we have had now where we used to own the Band Parents Association owned all the instruments. Now, the school owns the instruments. They take care of all of our instrument repair. They take care of, anything on those ends, leases, all that stuff. But everything else that we do, transportation, food, music, paying staff, anything that comes up, we have to fund ourselves. And starting out for the marching band season, we need about $15,000 just to run the program just through the end of football season, because we travel to all the games. We travel to competitions and things, and there's days where we have to feed the kids 2-3 times. We have to wash uniforms, all that kind of stuff. So, but we're doing fundraisers all year long.
How does it go? Props. So you got these massive props. You had mentioned you guys had to create those. So why don't you tell me about that process?
The process normally is Rob that you just talked to. He designs the whole show, and then he comes to us and says, here's the props that we need to build. And then some band parents who have some kind of construction experience, we just figure out how we're going to do it, how we're going to make it work in our budget and things like that. So there's a prop down here that they wanted to build it one way. We weren't able to do that because of finances, so we build it a little bit differently. And then we also have to work then, how is it going to work in the show, and is it movable? And the other thing that's a big issue is it's got to be a prop that is then packable, and we can get it in a truck and get it small and that type of thing. And then how do the kids use it? Is it something that just sits on the field? Is it something a kid uses? How are we going to, incorporate usage for the kids as well.
So there really is a science to it, and there's a heck of a lot that goes into the design. And the way that Rob was mentioning to me is, they kind of design in this scenario. It's all about the letter X, so they had to figure that all out in terms of the choreography, and then you've got to figure out how you're going to incorporate the props in there too.
Right. And now the way he does this, it's really interesting. There's a software program he uses where he incorporates every single band member and the props and everything, and we know exactly where they go, what they're supposed to do during the show. We just then have to emulate that in the real world with 2x4s and paint and screens. We have printed screens that, once again, fundraisers, $3,000 in just printed screens. And then we had, probably another $1,000 in just materials just to build the props with the wheels and the lumber and all that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do some closing thoughts. If you had one thing you wanted to tell people about the Firestone High Marching Band, what's your last thing you would say about it?
My last thing I would say about it, it's an excellent program. It teaches these kids how to work together. It teaches these kids how to see an end goal and how to achieve that and how to work with one another. And I just love being around high school kids. And so I've been here. My child graduated 3 years ago, so I'm still here helping out the program, and I'll probably be here until I can't drive anymore. Pulling the trailer and that, and and the parents here are just amazing. They're just willing to step up and do whatever we need. So.
All right, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for inviting us out tonight. All right, folks. Once again, we had a lot of fun here tonight, especially, and hopefully you enjoyed our discussion and enjoyed some of what the band has to offer. Make sure you check them out. There's still plenty of season coming up to see them live. So go to the Facebook page, Firestone High Marching Band, I believe. Firestone High Band is how it comes up. You can find their scheduled events that are upcoming. Make sure you tune in next week as we're going to sit back down in Acme number 1 and broadcast live from Acme 1 Studios and discuss charity options over the holiday season in and around the 330. Until then, I don't know where I'm going, but there ain't no sense of being late. Say goodnight, Shirley.